And that's our main talking point so far as well in the Premier League. Who will make the top four this season? Because Liverpool are slowly but surely creeping up onto the top four list as well. And Chelsea recently just won their game in against Leeds United as well. So it's going to show there, Sani, that I'm kind of thinking, is the top four race not as straightforward as we expected, really? Because a couple of weeks ago, it could have been a shoe-in for Arsenal, Man City, Newcastle, Man United, all four of them just rotating around. But what's your thoughts on this at the moment, Sani?
Yeah, no, I think it's a really tight race at the moment. It kind of reminds me of a couple of seasons ago when everyone thought that Leicester were going to make the top four, and then it came to the last game of the season and they lost. Obviously, I think it was the Spurs at home, and then
Yeah.
yeah, they bottled top four. And I think this year a lot of teams have, and a lot of fans as well have thought, yeah, Newcastle are going to make fourth. But what I would say is Newcastle remind me of Aston Villa back in the 2007-8, which I mean, Saul obviously you remember quite fondly under Martin O'Neill, had a great side, had the likes of Downing, Young, Agbon Lahore, Gareth Barry, Milner, great side. But when it
John
came
Carew.
to it, John Carew, big John Carew from Leon, I think he came from, had a great side, but when it came to it, they didn't have enough depth. And I think Newcastle have had the same issue. They just don't have enough depth. And when you have, the trusted teams of Liverpool, especially, who, if they go on a run, they'll be there. Like, do you remember a couple of seasons ago when they won on the last day of the season against West Brom, Alisson with that header? Something similar could happen for them this season where it comes down to the wire and they just have that little bit of know-how that will get them into the top four. But it's going to be an intriguing race. It's going to be one of them three. My money's on Liverpool, but I'd love it if Spurs made it, because who wants Liverpool making top four?
I mean, Liverpool have got, if they ever have, getting tongue tied today. It's what happens when Man United get drubbed 7-0. Don't really want to speak publicly, but that's the case, unfortunately. Now, Liverpool right now, I think they're only 3 points behind Tottenham, with 42 points, Tottenham and 45 points as well. Liverpool are fifth, Tottenham are fourth as well. Tottenham are kind of falls through that this kind of edge as well. So that's why I think with that 7-0 win, it's more than just a statement to Manchester United. It's a statement to the rest of the world, from what I can see, from Liverpool Football Club, saying we're not done yet. We're not finishing just yet. We're only getting started with this new front three that we have, with Darwin Núñez turning up, Cody Gakpo, like Salim said, turning up as well. And we predicted it before the start of the World Cup, I would say, Salim. We said about how Cody Gakpo is a player to watch out for this season, whether he does go to Man United, whether he does go elsewhere. He was someone that I thought would be, he was just causing havoc, really. And unfortunately for me, who was gassing him up for the whole beginning of the season, he dunked on us at Anfield. What's your kind of thoughts on the top four, Salim? Do you reckon Liverpool have got this, or is it going to be another topsy-turvy kind of end to the season? We've got what,
I
14
think
games
it
left,
will
haven't we?
be. I think it will be Liverpool, but there will be some more like twists to come. It's like I mentioned Spurs last week, how they sort of lose every week, but are still top four somehow. But I agree with what Sani was saying in terms of the squad depth of Newcastle, and relating that back to Villa, because I clearly remember what used to happen. O'Neill used to like sort of use the fewest players in the league. We wouldn't sign anyone in Jan. We'd sort of go the season using like literally the same 11 every week, same formation, same tactics, same personnel, maybe change one person after every 7 or 8 games. And we had this record that in the 4 years in the Martin O'Neill, we didn't win a game in Feb or March or something.
Yeah.
Like I remember we used to be 9 points, we used to be fourth, 9 points, we used to be third, sorry, at times, and we'd be fourth and then 9 points clear of Arsenal in fifth. And then we just wouldn't win a game for like 6, 7 games across Feb and March, because it was just pure burnout, which it looks like, and just lack of ideas. But that's where the teams that have that know-how, like you're mentioning, and they've got that strength and they've done it before, and they've got the stronger heads and the rotation and players coming back, new signings, that's where they really come into the mix and then help propel them up the league. So it looks like for Liverpool, like Núñez and Gakpo, Gakpo being new signing, but Núñez is starting to hit form, and a lot of other players in there that are finding form, might be injured and coming back into it.
Konate is a big one for me.
Yeah,
How he bossed that,
Konate.
he bossed that attack from Man United as well. And we've only seen Konate and Van Dijk as a back four, or partnership, I should say, for I think 5 times in the Premier League this season. And if that's their first choice partnership going forward, that is going to be quite scary for Liverpool, because I was kind of there like, Wout Weghorst isn't doing anything against this. And you're seeing Rashford go past him all the time. Offside. Konate has the pace to drop back with any striker in the league as well, from what I've seen. We've seen him do it at the World Cup. We're seeing Van Dijk kind of teaching him the mental side of the game as well. But what I can see now, I don't want to say it's between Tottenham, Newcastle, and Liverpool, but there are a few other teams in and about there that could sneak in the top 4. We're talking about Fulham, we're talking about Brighton, maybe even Brentford as well. I'm not going to say Chelsea. Chelsea may be a bit too much so far. But we never really see it, do we, Sally? We never really see that surprise top four person. Like we said earlier, Sani, as well. Leicester City, they could have done it, but they didn't. So from either of you, Sani, we'll start with you actually. Is there going to be a surprise on this top four? Is it going to be a shoe in between Tottenham, Liverpool, and Newcastle? And I personally think Man United could be in that top four race still. I think a couple of bad results could drop them down. What do you think, Sani?
I mean, you've mentioned Van Dijk and Cody Gakpo. I know you've got the Dutch shirt on, but I don't think we need to go Dutch on this one because I'm going to go Spurs or Liverpool. Really, I can't see Newcastle making it. I think it's going to be one of them. They've got the experience, but just going back onto what Sal was saying in terms of Spurs, the crazy stat going into that game was the fact that Wolves have never actually beaten Spurs at home. This weekend happened, and boom, record gone. So it goes to show that this top four race, like Sal said, will have twists and turns. But I just think, I know you mentioned Fulham, Brentford, like Brentford won that derby, big win for them. Brighton always game spender the Zerbi. But I just think when you have a manager like Klopp, and if you look at Spurs, when you have a player like Harry Kane, those are the sort of players and managers, right, that will get you into the top four, into that upper echelons. And I just think when it comes down to the thick of things, when the pressure's on, when it's on the, gas mark 7, you want someone like Liverpool or Spurs there. And that's where I think it's going to come down to. Now, I'm not sure in terms of fixture list, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not sure if they've got a game coming up between those two sides, but that could be an absolute barnstormer if they do face each other later on in the season.
I mean, Liverpool's next away game in the Premier League is Manchester City. Then they've got, Liverpool's next run-up is Manchester City away. Then they've got Chelsea away. Then they've got Arsenal at home. Then they've got Leeds away. So Liverpool have got all their big fixtures coming up. And then at the end of April, they've got a home game against Spurs. So they've literally gone from beating Man United 7-0. They've got Real Madrid away coming up. And then the hard games could continue for Liverpool as well. I mean, not so hard against Man United, but harder games coming up in the Premier League as well.
But I think with that game, the games they've got coming up, that 7-0 that they had over us is going to be the reason why I think they'll be going into this game with confidence, as opposed to, worrying that, okay, our defense hasn't been great. Like going into that Man United game, they kept 4 clean sheets in a row. Now, they kept 5. In the last 20 league games before then, they kept only 5 clean sheets. So clearly the defense is working, like you mentioned earlier, with Konate, for example. But going forward as well, Nunez obviously got 2 goals. The confidence he's going to get from that game is going to be insane. Everyone was calling him Punez before, but now, there's going to be big issues for a lot of teams because he already had the movement going forward for him and he definitely had the instinct. He needed the goals. He's got a couple of goals now. He's going to be on fire. And I think going into those games, like I said, there'll be confidence for Liverpool. I mean, 4 tough games. I mean, Leeds probably not, but, 3 tough games. I can see them coming away with 6 points from those games, but we'll see what happens.
Yes, we will. Salim, what's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I was actually just going to say the same thing. Like going into the Liverpool game against United, you'd probably say that it was the first time where United were probably the better team going into the game in maybe the past 5 or 6 years or something. I don't know, maybe less, maybe 4 years or so. But it was the first time where you actually thought, Liverpool don't look favourites this time. It looks like it probably will be United. And the fact that they went into it sort of, I'd say a bit of like the underdog, haven't had the best of seasons, but recent form has been quite good. Although that goes out the window when it comes to a game like this. And yeah, they just purely turned up, and the amount of confidence they'll get from this will help them throughout the course of the season. You've seen like some of the comebacks in the Champions League as well before, meaning that they can go to Real Madrid and they can do it. But it might be one of them where maybe getting knocked out in the Champions League probably would be beneficial for them in a sense that they can just focus on the league after that. But then again, it could be the trophy that Liverpool want to win this season, as they're obviously not going to win the title, and the Carabao's already gone too.
And the FA Cup.
The FA Cup. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. But the fact that they could put a result like that down, and they've just got enough time as well. If it was in the last 5 games of the season, you think it's a bit too little, too late. But with them got was it 14 games or so left? They definitely fancy the chances to get in that top 4 now.